Will you take a look at the size of that? That is a beautiful pod. So this is some okra I've been growing, and as a little tip, if you want to know if okra is good, see if you can flex the tip. If the tip is flexible, it is still good and it is still edible. If it's not flexible or if it feels like a rock, then guess what? You ain't eating that. So this is actually a little bed of some okra. This is specifically Burmese okra. I got these from, wonderfulrareseeds.com, Baker Creek. And we're going to harvest these today, but I wanted to document this because this is actually pretty interesting. These plants do not grow like your typical southern Clemson spineless okra. They grow really, really short, and they start giving really early. And if you look at this thing here, it's actually maybe, so my hand is about 7-8 inches. And so this guy is no more than 12 inches tall, and he has already got fruit giving on him, which is fantastic. I was dealing with some aphids on these for quite a while, but then to my utter delight, I discovered there were mealybug destroyers on here, and they like to eat aphids too. So let's get all these harvested, because it is summer and it is time to go grill, and we're going to grill us some okra. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about these as the summer goes on, but yeah, these are just really, really cool. Your average okra would get to be about that long, and then it would be hard as a rock after that. But these guys, no, they're good all the way up to that, and probably longer, but I don't want to risk it. And I want to eat some okra today. I do have to wear gloves just because my skin gets irritated by these things. Now there is more to pick, but I think that this is going to do just nicely for our purposes today. So we're going to go grill these up with the family and enjoy them, and yeah, then we're going to check back in a few more days. I do want to make a note that once the flower comes up, as you see there, you're going to have about 4 to 5 days before it's going to be something like that. If you leave it for a little longer, you'll get something like that, which is about 7-8 inches right there, and I feel like that's a pretty good average size for picking. Alright, so I've been watching this guy with much interest because he is growing quite a bit differently, out of the way, than any of the other ones that I'm growing currently. As you can see, it has a nice branch right there. And what's interesting is most of the other ones don't do that. They all have just a single stalk with a little crown on top. This guy decided he is going to be a bit of a weirdo, but as you can see, we have fruit on both crowns there, and we're going to cut some of this because I'm interested to eat it. And I think that given the fact that this guy seems to be quite fruitful and quite skilled at growing in a slightly irregular pattern, you know, break the mold, buddy. And I'm thinking that since this one seems to be genetically gifted to grow quite a bit more fruit than the others, we're going to save the seeds from this plant only, and in the future we'll plant this out and see what we can get, because crazily enough, as it sits now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7 pods on this one, versus, you know, migrate over here to one of my other guys. Typically they'll do this sort of thing where they have 1 to 2, you know, maybe 3 max, but yeah, 7's a little nuts. So we're gonna harvest this freak here and get ourselves a little bit of dinner going with that. Oh, and I see a little friendly there. So that is a firefly, I believe. It is a great bug to have because they are very beneficial for your plants. Alright, you do you, little man. And rather than use a knife, I actually got a pair of these little doohickeys, so should make this a lot easier. I do still have to wear gloves, however. Yeah, check that out. It's a beast. I'm going to leave the little guys for a while longer, let them get a little larger, and harvest them at a little later date. This guy, good sized pod there. Alright, I'd say that's a pretty fair haul. I mean, those are all 9-10 inches long, so that ought to make for some good eating right there. Alright, so you can eat this okra raw, but I like to do this with it because this is just a real simple way to make it delicious. You just take your skewer, run it lengthwise like that, and first thing you do is you burn off all the little spines on the stem because those absolutely hurt. And once you get those burned off, you simply char it up a bit. And you can use like cast iron or anything like that, but sometimes just a simple open flame will do the trick, and I didn't want to start a campfire, so this is the next best thing to it. It's a nice day out, so everyone's out doing yard work today, and here I am just cooking my okra. Yeah, so you see we're starting to get a little char on there, so that's kind of what you're looking for. Just a little bit of char all the way around typically makes them taste a little better than just plain. Oop. I think I can grab that there. Skewer is nice for starting it. You can use a skewer, and you can also use your hands if they're big enough, but if they're small, you're going to want to use a skewer because you're going to burn yourself. I think we're about done here. Alright, let that cool off real quick. There we go. That's kind of what you're looking for, just an even coating of char all the way around. Alright, I got a little bit of salt and garlic powder kind of mixed up in my cup here. So we got hot. The idea is take the tip, bite off that little burned bit there, and just dip a little bit of that in your spice mix there. And there should be enough sticky stuff left on the inside that you get a little bit of seasoning. You just enjoy it just like that. And let me tell you, it is awesome. And the spice mix, you can make it whatever you want. I just like salt and garlic powder with it. And just a little dip and a little action like that. That is delicious. So yeah, you can enjoy that however you want. Try it with that Indian spice or something like that. A little bit of masala would be pretty good, but it's salty, it's grilled, it's garlicky. Nothing not to like there. The nice thing about this Burmese okra is that it's less slimy than a lot of other okra is. So what you end up getting is this kind of nice sort of like meaty flavor, meaty texture with it. There you go. It's about the easiest okra recipe you could possibly ask for. And it is amazing. Alright, well we've been having some summer days in excess of 100 degrees. And I'm talking 103, 104, heat index up to 116. And pretty much everything is trucking right along. We got a couple of the small plants there, but the interesting guy over here is doing pretty well too. A little neighbor there started producing as well, and as a nice little addition, we have this little dude who is growing 3 little branches like that, and he has started making some little flower spots. So we might have more fruit even from him, but I'm very impressed with the fact that this stuff just does not seem to care about the heat whatsoever. But overall, very impressed with this variety, and I think that this may be the only variety I'm going to grow from now on. Considering we have these extremely hot subtropical summers, it's a good idea to hedge your bets on stuff that you know grows well in your area. And one more thing before we get all this harvested. This one I actually just planted in some of this native clay without any amendments just to see how it would grow, and it's actually growing pretty well, but it didn't get very tall, but it's still giving, and I've gotten a few pods off of it, and I'm going to harvest that one today. But as you can see, it's fairly healthy. You do still have to water it occasionally, but honestly they're so drought tolerant you don't really have to do a whole lot. I just kind of, whenever I think about it, that's the watering method for it. But yeah, this one was planted maybe back in June, early June, late May kind of thing. And yeah, he's doing just as well. So you don't actually have to have really good soil to grow these. You can just grow these in straight clay. As long as you've got a little bit of drainage, you'll be just fine. May not have as much, but you'll still have something. Nubby ones over here from the Clemson Spineless. I'll harvest them up too. Alright, well after a good bit of cutting, that's what we have. So I think we're going to enjoy that tonight with the boys. I know that my wife, I've actually converted over to a okra fiend, which is great. She actually enjoys cutting it up and cooking it and everything now, which is awesome. So yeah, I think if I had twice as many plants, I'd be a little bit happier, but you know, you got to take what you can get, and you have to take what the garden and the ground gives you. So this is what that gave us today, and that's what we're going to enjoy. But next season, I think I'm definitely going to go hardcore on these and plant twice as many plants, and hopefully, if we can replicate the little genetic freak over here with the split branches, hopefully next season we'll be able to get more like him, where he's giving twice as many as the others, and that'll be a real treat. I think we're going to have okra coming out of our ears if we can pull that off. Alright, well, we just got through a week of 100 degrees plus every single day, and it is about August the 21st today, and this guy continued to put out fruit, didn't drop any leaves whatsoever, and in fact, I don't know if it's even possible to see this, but buried down in here, hey, out of the way, leaf, there are more crowns forming lower down on the stem there. There's one there, and there's one on the opposite side there. You can't really see, but this is a trooper of a plant. I am going to really be interested to see what kind of offspring it produces with its seeds. Whereas if we compare with all the other ones here, yeah, a little scrawny, a little scraggly, a little stressed, but they've all been getting the same amount of water and the same amount of nutrients and such, so I'm not exactly sure what the secret is with this big old hoss right here. But this little guy started to give some fruit as well. He's also branched, but not quite as sturdy as the other one there. You can see this guy's got a little bit of fruit on him too. Alright, well, we are getting close to the end of the season, so these guys are all getting to be a little bit drier, a little bit more tougher. Inedible really is the word I'm looking for. Truth is that it is starting to get so close to fall that we need to start pulling a lot of these out, because we got to get some stuff in the ground that is going to be our fall crop, and that's going to be a separate video. And my lens is fogging up again. Man, that's better. These subtropical climates do a wonder on lenses when you come from a cold environment to a warm environment. So typically when you want to save okra seeds, you just let these get super dry, super hard on the vine. I mean, they'll get like rocks basically, and you can't possibly imagine eating them, no matter what you would do. And all the other plants are doing pretty okay. We've gotten a couple more harvests off of them, and I'm just going to keep harvesting these until the time comes. There's a very noisy blue jay up there buzzing around. He doesn't seem to like me being out here. And so we're going to be harvesting these up until the probably the end of next week or so. It's actually August the 30th currently here in my location. And so once the middle of September comes and we start harvesting everything else, these are going to start pulling out of the ground, and we're going to start getting these beds ready for the winter fall stuff, because we have a fairly temperate winter in this area. But anyway, this okra is awesome. I highly recommend it. It is downright delicious. My boys look forward to it every time that we harvest it. Wife looks forward to it too, so I'd say that's a big win. So we'll see you in a couple more weeks when it's time to pull all these out. Alright, well, these were three of the best performers of this bunch, so sad as it is, they gotta come out. They're gonna be, oh, man, that's some thick taproot on that. Very cool. Alright, this one is the thickest one, so let's see how he... That is quite impressive. Let me get a little better picture of this for you guys here. There we are. I mean, look at the size of that root knot. That's a beast. That thing was determined to grow every which way. It almost looks like a carrot, which is kind of wild. I guess carrots are a taproot, but yeah, it kind of grew a little gnarly right there. But that's a good idea of how deep okra roots can go. So that's pretty cool. Sad to see him go, but as is the circle of life. And this tube is pretty big too, so. Yeah, what a beast. What's interesting is that where this was planted, there was an Oya pot right there. You probably saw me pull it up just now. And that taproot, I bet you, was wrapped around that pot pretty hardcore. So that's pretty cool to see. But I don't see any weirdness, no lumps, no nothing. So some good healthy plants, which means that we don't have to do anything to this bed except pump it full of good organic stuff and plant out for the winter and fall, and that's what we're about. Alright, so these have been up here for about a month or two now, and they're pretty crispy. They don't really feel like they're edible anymore, so, and in addition to being crispy, the ends are starting to split too, so we're just going to go ahead and cut these, which I'm hoping that our seeds are probably ready to harvest out of these things. Yeah, even cutting them is difficult. Much more fibrous than they were before. Not edible at this point. I'm going to let these sit for just a little bit longer off the plant there, just in a dry environment, and we'll check back in another couple of weeks and see what we get. Alright, so today is the first rain in over a month, and I figured it'd be a good time to get outside and prep our okra seeds for next season. These are those pods after having sat in a nice dry place, i.e. my workshop inside, for a couple more weeks. And as you can see, we have some really good little seeds there, and getting them out is not that complicated. You typically want them just to be dry and easy to pull out. So, and interestingly enough, it seems like the seed count in this is a little low for the size of the pod, so I don't know if that's an unhealthy plant or what. But all we're gonna do, and as a pro tip, I actually like to pull seeds out on the ground, because if you're on the ground and you drop something, it doesn't have a tendency to bounce and then run off on you. So if you're trying to save as many seeds as possible, that is a little tip for you there. So we're just going to pull that out like so. Dump all those in our container there. There we go. There we go. Not very complicated. Pretty easy, straightforward. Now obviously the more pods you have, the more seeds you will get, but out of that one pod there, I actually have some dill seeds in there, so it's not purely okra. Out of that one pod, that's not it's not a bad little haul. We could definitely replant all those. And this one is going to do the same thing. Just pops out like that. There we go. I'm glad I got these in when I did, because this rain would have definitely soaked these out and made them rot out, which would not have been a good thing. Now what I'm curious about, these are equally, oh, well, there's seeds in there. Let's see if they're, how hard these are. These are still a little bit on the soft side, so we may just let these sit a little bit longer before we pull these out. So let's check this one here and see. Let's see, are these soft or are these... No, they're still just a little bit soft. So we're going to let these sit a little bit longer, but we have a decent amount in there. And I like to use these little spice jars. And they're a little bit more expensive, but they also serve a secondary use. So just picking these seeds out, I really shouldn't have had two types of seeds in here. That was a little dumb on my part. It looks like we're going to have enough just from those two to get going for next season. Oh, hey, Mr. Bird. I have no idea what that is, actually. He's pretty loud. I don't know what that bird is, actually. I don't recognize that song, but very pretty. Might be some kind of sparrow. Right there, and that is what we are left with. And if we had to plant that, I'm fairly certain we could get a couple of sprouts out of that. I like the glass bottles because they are a little tougher. Plus, they look cool sitting on the shelf, so that's always a pro. So this kind of gardening stuff I'm actually really enjoying, so I plan on making more content like this in the future. If you like it, leave a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know. But as always, you guys are awesome. Hope you have an awesome day. Arigato gozaimasu. Sayonara.